Rock Fairfield.
Got to.
Today.
When in, well, not Rome, but where we were.
when in the air.
We're in the great state of Connecticut.
You know, if you want to shout out,
you know, they can't even have the decency to be here tonight, so no shout out. But this is all they're getting. We saw them in New York. We saw them in New York. Yeah, they were in New York. So good.
We're you know, any league and the basketball in general where three is such a big part of the game. It's not rely on that. How unique is it to how they play and kind of having to kind of adjust to them? You know, they kind of got a different type of style of play than what you guys know.
Yeah, I think in today's game, if you're not gonna make a ton of threes, and to be clear, I think their 3-point shooting will improve because you have people like DeWanna and Rachel Banna, who are below their typical numbers that will uptick at some point. Hopefully not tonight. You got to be good at some other things, and they have what I'll call cheap points, but they're not cheap because you got to work for them. They offensive rebound, they get stuff in transition, they get to the foul line, they get the paint, so they have a bunch of different ways to score. And I think one thing that sticks out is they are a really good kind of old school interior passing team. I mean, Alyssa is one of the best, obviously, but DeWanna and Bree Jones and others got a good sense of timing for cutting, for passing in tight spaces. I think a couple of the best teams in the league right now are good at that. Them, Vegas, Minnesota, New York, like those teams are really good in tight windows. And it's all fine and good to load up and help and all that, but when people can make plays in tight areas and stuff.
I mean, you talked earlier about trying to take away. I mean, that's part of it, but in general, especially against this team. But it's not just as simple as someone dropping it in the post and letting them kind of go to work. Because you're gonna kind of evaluate a little bit, kind of what you're talking about, what they do in the paint. That's not just drop to
right. I mean, they do it a few different ways. Runouts off of turnovers are points in the paint generally. You get layups, offensive boards lead to points in the paint. Alyssa Thomas picking and kind of popping to the foul line and driving it down the lane to score or drop it off as points in the paint. So there's a couple schematic things we got to do. But then there's things like taking care of the ball and getting bodies on bodies when the shot goes up. Those are probably worth 6 to 10 points each if you do a good job, or if you don't do a good job. So, trying to get them below their average in the paint requires being good in a lot of areas.
Was Kira tonight?
No, she fell hard at the end of our game in New York and took a hit and just kind of jarred her a bit. So trying to just give her a couple extra days for it to calm down. I think sometime later in the week, exact date TBD.
There's some areas in the team since the first game here expected.
I mean, to Kareem's question, the paint defense has improved. I would say our blocking out, defensive rebounding has improved. We're moving the ball well. I would say, I think we're maybe just a hair out of first in the league in assist percentage. Like there are stretches of games where we're really moving it well and getting each other good looks. Some of those things we did well in the game up here, to be honest. I'm sure there are others, but those are the ones that jump out the most. Yeah, we talked a lot with her. I mean, I sat with her a bit yesterday and just talked about continuing to be really solid. Like, I think her best games are the ones where she lets her defending, rebounding, simple finishing set up her other stuff. Being on balance when she catches the ball in traffic, getting her eyes up to the square, just finishing, not feeling rushed. Defensively, using her mobility, getting up to picks, getting her hands active, using her voice, and then rebounding the ball. So, her doing those things allow her to stay on the court to have success with things like scoring. It's like we're all on a road here. This is like a skit.
But not since even our first game that you were in Connecticut.
I mean, I don't know if people just watched the film or looked at the stats. It would be as obvious as it is to us of like you see her mentally kind of growing every day, getting smarter, learning the league. We're starting to get kind of the second time around with some teams. You can already see her, you know, having her little kind of her book on people and okay, we play Connecticut. This is how they defend it. This is the space I need to get into. So that type of stuff. And then skill wise, finding the right times to slow down, finding the right times to go quick, and then just get used to you know, especially finishing in traffic with the length of this league.
How important is it for this figure out against front court like Connecticut?
Yeah, no, there's no easy matchups tonight. No, it should be important. I mean, we're gonna need everybody, to be honest with you. We're down two important players. It's gonna take a full group effort, and she's a big part of that.
Well, I mean, we are on the same wavelength here, just have exact same questions. But I would like to just follow up with the ball when it comes to Leah, just her transition, you know, not necessarily just her to work, but for practice, for work ethic, like what had her transition to the WNBA?
I think she's easily one of the most mature rookies we've ever had. I mean, you know, they're different personalities and stuff. She reminds me of when we got Ariel. You just felt kind of an old soul, even though you do remember how young she is sometimes. And no, she's great. I mean, I think it's exactly what we thought we were getting. You know, she's personality wise, work ethic wise. She's a great teammate. Teammates love her already. I don't spend much of my day worrying about her doing the right things or being where she's supposed to be. You get a lot of credit with your vets and your coaches. You act the way she acts, and I think that sets her up really well for, you know, a long, successful career.
JD, you guys do great work. What do you need first to install this?
We need to do kind of just everything she's doing right now. She's pushing pace. She's being aggressive. You know, especially we're getting pressured and overplayed a lot on wings and elbows, and it's really helpful to have somebody that can kind of just put their head down and go to the rim. It's what we're missing with, you know, Brittany Sykes out. She gives us a little bit of that. Full court pressure on the other end. I think she's kind of changed the momentum of a couple games already just by getting up and pressuring the ball or picking up where Julie or Shatori or somebody left off pressuring the ball. And she's just getting more and more comfortable. I mean, she's still the youngest player in the league. She's getting more and more comfortable with what we're trying to do, our schemes, our offense. And from what I can tell, it's hard to believe we've only had her about 3 weeks, I think, unless I'm mistaken. She picks things up quick and she's a fast learner.
And you have provided that sports in the past 14 turnovers. You can feel like better at that's in that avoiding force turnovers.
I think when our pressure on the ball is good, we push catches out, when we're in gaps early, when we move with the ball. If anything, I think we, you know, probably one of the biggest areas for us to improve is to capitalize a little bit more on the times where we do force turnovers. We're forcing plenty of turnovers to get some stuff in transition. We probably haven't been, you know, ruthless enough in situations.
Coach, being just your second year, it's a long season, it's a long way to go. Do you have conversations with your dad at all, or who are some people you lead on going through kind of a slow start?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. You know, you get it's a good sign that you get a lot of people firing in, just kind of telling you to stay with it, stay positive to the point where I'm like, all right, that's too much now. Like we're okay. Nobody's dying over here. It's honestly our staff and our players, for the large part, have done a really good job keeping themselves in a space where they need to be mentally, emotionally. Nobody's happy with, you know, what the standings show, but I don't think anybody that's watched us play has gone, oh, that's a team that looks defeated, or that, you know, that's not a team that brings it every night. You just kind of got to keep plugging away, and at some point, you know, it's going to break through, and then hopefully that can just catapult us on from there.
We'll take one question on Zoom. Nathan?
Good evening, Eric. I just had a question regarding Carly. How, especially from the 3-point shooting, is it more how have you found ways to help her kind of figure out her shot, especially from the 3?
Just telling her to keep shooting. Honestly, it's not much more complicated than that. She makes shots every day. She's had games where she's made shots. I've seen the ball go in and out probably 6 or 7 times this year on good looks. You know, the only thing I've told her is if she passes up shots, that's letting the defense off the hook. That's the only way that it can turn into a negative is if somehow she stops shooting the ball. So kind of on the list of things I worry about, that's not very high.
And I wanted to follow up, like, I know you've emphasized it going back even last season, playing strong for 40 minutes. Like, is it something that's easily adjustable through film, or is it something like how can it transition to what you want it to look like for 40 minutes, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think you know, a big thing we've spent some time on is kind of the quality of our possessions. You know, shot quality is one thing, possession quality is another thing. And there's probably been, you know, I've spoken about it before, but spurts in the games, and largely it's been maybe early in the fourth quarter where we have one bad possession that turns into 2, that turns into 3 or 4, and we have to feel that better in the moment. So, yep, some of it's film. Some of it's practice and understanding what we want to execute, and then we honestly have to learn. You know, we don't practice a lot. We're playing a lot of games, so you got to try to learn in the moment, recognize it when it comes, and try to be a little better. We've had times where it's been better, and times where it hasn't.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Coach.
Y'all.